Hi guys, I hope you're all well. Got a very special guest here today. In fact, he's the first visitor to launch the Tom Hartley YouTube Visit the Hartley Estate. It's the famous motoring correspondent, Colin Goodwin, who I've known for almost 20 years. And the last time me and Colin were with each other was at Geneva motorshow 18 years ago. Is that right, Colin?
Yeah, and we both had, we didn't have a grey hair between us.
That's right, got fewer than mine.
Yeah.
And Colin's up here today for a couple of reasons. To catch up and also to talk about my book, The Deal Maker. Last week, as you know, the press and family got the first copies, and Colin's had the pleasure of reading the copy out, and I've had some good feedback from him, which is very pleasing to me. And we've been talking this morning about how the market is and where we're finding ourselves at the minute, and it's quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, fascinating, particularly at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's always a fascinating subject. Being in this toy shop is just, I've been doing this for over 30 years, and you still gasp when you see some of these cars. And many, even as a journalist, you see a P1 McLaren at the launch, you drive it at the launch, and then it sort of gets forgotten about. These are things you don't see every day of the week. And you walk in here and there's a P1. And the Noble's a good example. I haven't seen one for probably 10 years.
Yeah,
so it's always fun to, well, it's the first time I've been here, but it's a bit of an eye-opener when you come in for the first time.
Yeah, well, as it's the first time Colin's visited the new showroom, and it's quite exciting to show him around the new showroom, as he's just said. And he's doing a piece for Autocar. Now, I grew up reading Autocar. Most of you guys, when you were teenagers, you probably read the Dino or the kids' magazines. For me, it was Glasses Guide, which is a car values book for the trade only, and it was Autocar and Motor. Motor used to be. Can you remember Motor magazine?
Yeah, yeah.
Because it used to be connected to Autocar and Motor.
They merged in. They were Autocar's the oldest car magazine in the world. Started in 1895.
Yeah.
Motor not. Well, I think there were 6 cars in the UK when Autocar started.
Really?
Anyway, Motor started. It was called the Autocar, and then the Motor started a few years later. And in the late 80s, something like 87, the two merged.
Yeah.
It was called Autocar and Motor, if you remember.
Yeah, do you?
And then it just became Autocar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up Autocar. The first time I was actually featured with Autocar was in the 90s. They came up here and featured. I had a Bentley Azure. It was the first car in the country, and they done an article and a story on what's known now as the Hartley Estate, when I had the original showroom. And then over the years, I've formed such a great relationship with you guys. Autocar in particular, I've always supported the brand Tom Hartley, and I've had some great quotes made by them as my office walls in my original office show. So to have Autocar be the first magazine to feature my autobiography, and Colin in particular, it was quite moving for me to meet again after 18 years. We just took a photograph with Carl. Last time I took a photograph of me, you and Carl was like 13 years old.
Yeah, it must have been.
13, 14 years old.
Just a school kid.
Yeah, and how is the motoring correspondent? I mean, you write for the Mirror as well, and you write for the Daily Express, is that right?
Yeah, and Daily Star.
And the Daily Star. So I mean, you've got your hands full nowadays, haven't you?
Yeah, it's pretty busy, but I've never lost the buzz of seeing my name in print. I'm sure it's the same feeling when you drive through your gates and see Tom Hartley on the wall. I still love picking up a newspaper, and it is a bit of an ego thing, for sure, but it's nice to know that, I'm sure not everybody who buys the Mirror reads the motoring, but there's a lot of people, and I get a big buzz from being able to talk about and give people advice, you know.
This, for you guys to understand, characters like Colin Goodwin in the motor industry today are few and far between. I mean, this man's a real petrolhead. It can be a McLaren P1, a LaFerrari, it can be Lotus, we talked about Lotus earlier, and he is the last of it, I'm reading my opinion, excuse me for saying that, but that's how it is.
Well, we're also, me and my contemporaries are pre-internet generation.
That's right.
And the internet has made, there's nothing wrong with it, it's great obviously, but it's made everybody extremely busy. And I think we had more time to enjoy cars, more time to assess them, do a more thorough job. Now it's a bit whiz-bang. And also there's just so many more cars, so it was a more relaxed world when I started. And you know, as we were discussing earlier, supercars haven't really been invented prior 1987. And Ferrari would come out with a new model every 5, 6, 7 years ago, and they'd have, you know, a 308, a mid-engine car, and a front-engine car. That'd be it.
And you find all them cars here.
Yeah, exactly. You know, some of them, and that's one of the buzzes of coming in here. It brings memories back from when you, because cars aren't really just bits of metal to me. They're, without the emotional attachment, they're nothing. And I think you come in here and you see, I haven't seen a Carrera GT for ages. I immediately think back to when I drove one. You know, and that's the fun of it really. They're not kettles and washing machines. They're things you have an emotional connection to, and coming in here, you know, brings the memories back.
It's interesting, guys, and not going to blow my own trumpet, but Colin reminded me earlier, the name supercar, Tom Hartley has been there from the very beginning. We talked about the XJ220,
Yeah.
the Ferrari F40, the 288 Ferrari. These were, the name supercar was one of the first used. Prior to that, for you younger guys, it was just basically a sports car, correct?
Apart from the magazine I worked for in the 80s called Supercar Classics.
Right.
So arguably possibly we created the name. But you're right, that was the car that really kicked it off.
And when I use the slogan, guys, that the Hartley estate is the original home of supercar dealers, don't let anybody try to contradict that, because that's a fact. And I think that's well known in the industry, Colin, as far as reporters go. Yeah,
well, if you want to know about the market, in the past, if you were a journalist and you wanted to know what the market was doing, what the demand for certain cars was, you called Tom up. But I think he's got such a reputation now that if you were planning to build a supercar or a hypercar, I would invest in a cup of coffee with Tom, or a decent phone call, to see can the market stand it. We were talking earlier about the Lotus hypercar, electric hypercar, and the bloke, if you want to know are there enough people in the world who are likely to be interested in this car, I would call you to ask you.
Well,
if I was going to be building something like that, I would want to know your black book must be unbelievable.
Well, it is, Colin. You know, you guys who I respect, my followers, I told you earlier, these guys, I interact with them on a daily basis, because that, for me, what you see is what you get. And my book is all about that. It's a true story. And Colin read the book. Not going to give too much away just now, but I think he used a word to me earlier, which moved me a bit. He used a word, I think you said fascinating.
Yeah, but it's a long story, and it starts in the mid-70s. You know, and I find it fascinating that Tom could make money buying Range Rovers and Rolls Royces and selling them on at a premium just after the oil crash. I'm sure a lot of people are too young to remember that, but it was really devastating. You could buy a Ferrari Daytona like the one over there for £2,000 in 1974, as I'm sure you remember. So it's interesting to read how the world has changed, and then in the 1980s we had a boom. You know, the sort of Guards Red 911 driven by advertising guys with eccentric spectacles and bright ties, and then a supercar's born. You know, and it's the book is a story of how
5 decades.
5 decades.
5 decades.
And it's not just supercars, which that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah.
I think if it was just the last 20 years of selling flash cars to flash people,
Yeah.
it would be boring. But the interesting bit is that we get the earlier days where that, you know, that sort of, you know, buying, selling cars at premium because there was such a demand for them hadn't really been invented. So it's really a story of dealing in cars.
I mean, I don't want you guys to think I'm rolling down my own arse, but I really do believe, and the record will show, and it'll go down in history, as far as I'm concerned, I created premium cars and paying over lists to supply people with cars that they couldn't wait for, and that started with Range Rovers back in 1972. A long time before some of you guys were born, and those of you who were born at that time, let me tell you, Range Rovers were the first car to start that trend off. Rolls Royce were a big car in the 70s, Jaguars were the big car in the 80s, and then came along Ferraris, and then the rest is on record. In essence, what it meant was that Tom Hartley could supply you any car, any make, any model that nobody else could at a price. As simple as that. And what's been interesting this morning, where we're finding ourselves, and me and Colin talked about this, perfect example, at the minute in time, we're selling a brand new i8 BMW with a list price of £136,000. It's a week old, and we're offering it out there for £80,000. Now, that's the other sector, the other end of the market where Tom Hartley also gives good value for money. Some people think, Colin made a good point, some people think if you come here, you can feel a bit intimidated. Unless you've got £1 million, you shouldn't come into Tom Hartley estate and look to buy a car. Well, that's not the case. We do cars at 100,000, sometimes under 100,000, but at prices that main dealers, i.e. Ferrari, Rolls Royce, Bentley, Porsche, can compete with us because of our profit margins. And that's all about the structuring of the business, reinvesting profits, working on small profit margins. All these things you'll pick up if you read the book.
Yeah.
The book tells you a lot, doesn't it?
And I guess something we haven't talked about this morning, I mean, the i8's really fascinating. Now,
it's so fascinating, guys, this guy might buy it, let me tell you that.
Well, it's dangerous. Well, you come to a place like this, you feel quite safe because everything's £1 million and you don't have to sit on your wallet. But suddenly here you can get a brand new i8 for, how much was it?
$79,950. 40% less than retail price.
Yeah, then you're getting into a slight danger zone, because you might try and haggle Tom down some bit more and sell a few things.
And you're welcome to do that, guys. I mean, there's a little bit of flexibility. You know, I always like to give a deal. If it's only 500 or 1,000, I always like to give something back. Because I personally wouldn't buy something, whatever it is. Also, the book will tell you this unless I get a deal. That's why I'm called a deal maker.
But the interesting thing about the i8 is a BMW dealer could not have that car in his forecourt.
No, you wouldn't be allowed to outside of that price.
You wouldn't be allowed to.
No.
Because it would knock the price, the value.
And the brand.
I mean, how do you sell a new 8 Series for more money than a delivery mileage i8?
But the answer to that question, Colin, is I don't really care how that happened.
No, you can do it.
Yeah, I can do
but
it.
a dealer would lose his franchise.
That's exactly right. But, you know, I just love having these, so when I meet these guys like Colin, like I say to you, they're few and far between now, who are what I call old school correspondence, and this guy goes back a long way. And the fact that I've been in the business for 5 decades, I've seen a lot of people come and go, and I'm at a very important stage of my life. I'm approaching 60. I've done my book now, which you will all have your copies next month. Those of you who haven't ordered your copies can order on Amazon. I can also tell you it's great information. This morning I was told that the deal maker on Amazon is #1 in automotive, and it's #3 in business best-selling books on Amazon, which I find remarkable to think it's not out for another 3 weeks. So I must have done something right in the book. Or you guys just like to know which is the story, how did I get here?
Yeah, it's a fascinating story and pretty inspiring, because now, who knows with what's going on at the moment, but the principles apply the same. You can you can buy something that somebody wants, you can make some money on it.
Anyway, catch us all later. I hope you'll watch us and enjoy it. And don't forget to order your copy of The Deal Maker. And talking to this guy and watching this video, believe me, he's very, very interesting and he knows his stuff even more than TH when it comes to buying and selling cars. Not quite as much as writing about them he does. Here. Cheers, brother.
Well done. That's good.